After finishing my video on Like a Dragon Info 12, I jumped right into Like a Dragon Ishin, a remake of the 2014 Ishin that would never release outside of Japan, with new fancy graphics using the Unreal Engine this time, which was pretty surprising to see as all RPG games from Yakuza 6 and onward used the Dragon engine, but this game still looked fantastic, so who cared, right? Now I should say this too, but I never actually played the original 2014 game, so I won't be comparing the two versions. With that out of the way, let's get into the real meat of the video. The title screen is so cool, but the music, oh my god, it is so godly. This is my favorite menu theme in the entire series. You just know you're gonna embark on a crazy adventure when hearing it. You can select the difficulty of the game from easy, medium, hard and legend. I put it on hard because I'm such an epic gamer. The game opens up with a cutscene of some samurai meeting up. They then kick the door and start attacking anyone, with them telling the main character to go up the stairs. As he goes up the stairs, a man tries to shoot him, but he fails and dies. But in the same room, another person is there knowing who the man is.
No. Sakamoto Ryoma-san yo.
We are being told that for over 300 years, the Bakufu Togawa has been ruling over Japan, but due to some outside forces, that is about to change, with Japan being in total chaos. With our main character Sakamoto on the ship preparing to board land on his hometown he grew up in. As he gets in, he runs into some trouble, but like, that's not really surprising because the samurais here are just complete fucking dicks. He gets thrown into jail for fighting them, but gets out by his father. Meeting up with his father later again, he tells Sakamoto that he wants to change Japan. Sakamoto's brother has made a group of people that's going to change Japan's future forever. What he means is to take down the hierarchy Bakufu, as they have been controlling Japan for far too long. Meeting up with his brother, Sakamoto is promoted to the second highest position in the whole group, even after having been gone for a whole year, not even having been in the group since the beginning. His brother wants Sakamoto to join them to fight for the better, as he is an amazingly skilled samurai. Later that night, both his father and brother have a meeting about this loyalist group that will change Japan forever. But then suddenly a masked man comes running in and kills their dad. The clown thinks that Sakamoto killed him because he was the only one in the room at the time. Sakamoto does find the masked man again and fights him, but the man gets away before Sakamoto can do much more. Running away from the clan, Sakamoto decides to hide his brother and walk up to the rest of the clan and say he will find the murder of his father, and jumps off a cliff. With 1 year passing by now, he is now a ronin in another village, still trying to cover the truth about this masked man's identity, with the only clue he got being that the man's fighting style being of Rishins. In the same village, there's also a group called the Shinsengumi, a group of samurais that takes on quests from higher-ups and helps people, but are also very unforgiving to its enemies and people trying to leave the group. Once you're an enemy of the group, you won't be alive for long. Sakamoto joins the group to see if he can find out who the masked man was, as most of the captains use the Rishin style. He joins and gets promoted to captain of the 3rd division. But in another part of town, his brother has made it there and is now the leader of the loyalist party. However, he has joined the elders who could possibly be responsible for killing their dad. So with this, he and Sakamoto become some friends, and Sakamoto refuses to join his party. So now it's up to Sakamoto to find out who killed the father and why. And on top of all that, he still have to keep his identity hidden and go by his new name, Hajime Saito. I think this introduction is pretty fantastic. I love the conflict created here and was eager to see where it will go. And spoiler for later, I guess, it did not disappoint at all. So with that, we can start talking about the combat of the game. In Like a Dragon Ishin, you have 4 different combat styles. There's Brawler, which is hand-to-hand combat, Swordsman, which is when you only use a sword, Gunman, when you only use a gun, and Wild Dancer, when you use a sword and gun. Despite how similar they sound, they're actually quite different, have a lot of different hit actions. Like Swordman is a lot slower, but does more damage to his attacks, while Wild Dancer is a lot faster, but attacks don't do as much damage. In Wild Dancer, you can use a gun, but it shoots pretty slowly, while in Gunman, you can shoot a lot faster, or shoot powerful shots that does much more damage. And Brawler is hand to hand, but it's also the only one where Sakamoto can pick up items and attack enemies with them. Now that's all well and good, but if I'm being honest, I think the Brawler combat is just bad. You do so little damage and pick up items, it's just never really worth it, since enemies attack so fast that you won't have time to attack with it. This might be one of my least favorite combat styles in the entire series. It's just not satisfying and it's just bad, honestly. The other combat style, Swordsman, I actually quite liked, but I didn't use it too often. Mainly because of Wild Dancer. Yes, Swordman does more damage with its attacks, but it's just slow that enemies often get a hit on you before you can do a lot. If it's multiple, it's kinda terrible to use, but if it's against only one person, then I think it actually works pretty well. Gunman was really fun for me to use. I just loved blasting everyone from afar and just spamming it. I do want to say Gunman is not the best to use when there's a lot of enemies close to you, but otherwise it's awesome. I think it's cool. And then we got the best one, Wild Dancer. This one is just fantastic. Your sword swings are much faster and has several moves that can damage multiple enemies. Also, being able to use a gun is also really cool. Managing to hit that final shot on an opponent. For me, what makes this one the best one is that it's good against multiple enemies or just a single one. So it became the one I upgraded the most first. So overall, I think the combat is very solid and I think the styles are really fun to use outside of Brawler, which I just, again, think just fucking stink. Sorry Komaki, but it's just not worth using. You can upgrade the combat styles by using these orbs by putting them in a circle. Now one thing I find very cool is that you have different types of orbs of color which each only go for one type of fighting style. Yellow for Gunman, blue for Swordsman, green for Wild Dancer and red for Brawler. You get these orbs by using the styles as a reward for, well, using them. But then we have the grey orbs, which you get by leveling up, and these can be used for any of the styles. But here is where the cool part comes in. If you place a grey orb in one of these styles and there's no more space, let's say for a green one in Wild Dancer, you can replace the grey orb with a green one and get the grey one back so you can use it on some other style. I think this was a really good idea, as it makes it so much better when upgrading your styles, using the grey orbs in one of your styles to another to fully upgrade that one too. So none of the orbs goes to waste. It's awesome. So new to Remake is this card system. You gain this in the main story when you start in this minigame going into the tunnels. So basically you have these units that can help you in battle with either healing you, increasing your damage or defense for a small amount of time or other abilities. There are a lot of different units, but the better the card, the better the effect is. Once the bar is full on the card, you can activate the ability. You also get an extra ability depending on which style you're using. Like with Gunslinger, you can cause a lot of wind to blow away your opponents, or with Wild Dancer to cause enemies to be electrified. Now again, that depends on which card you have too though. Now I played the game for over 30 hours and I still have no clue how to activate these special abilities. They just activate whenever they want to. I really wish I could have more control over it, but I don't. The card system is pretty cool, but at the same time I didn't really care that much about it. This game, like the other series, has higher content for you to enjoy. There is the classic karaoke, which in my Infinite Wealth video I completely forgot to mention for really no reason. We got the classic Bakame Tai with Sakamoto. Ilchi Sakura is also pretty awesome as well. But Ichiu Samurai, it's just kind of right in my opinion. To be honest, this is the only one I don't really care too much for. It's not bad, it just doesn't do it for me. Samurai Ondo though is fantastic. I love how much Patrick Okita's voice actor puts into the song. Like, he's not singing it seriously, but that's what makes it so amazing. Harapeko Biori is really good. I really love Haruka's singing voice, and this is no exception. It's such a happy song that I can't help but smile when I listen to it. Asura Komachi is beautiful. The background instruments are amazing, but the female singer, good lord, she's just so good. Like, this is Hana-chan's voice actor, like, she is so good. Why doesn't she sing more songs in the series? I just don't get it. It is one of my favorites in the entire series. However, my absolute favorite from this game is Kokyo ni Nishiki. This one is amazing. Shinpachi's voice is very soothing despite how manly it is, and he just owns the song so hard, alongside some fantastic background instruments. Overall, a great selection of songs. A new minigame that's been added in this game is a dancing one where Sakamoto will dance in order to press the buttons down on the screen at the right time. But I felt like I could never really get good at it. Despite me pressing the button at the right time, it would 20% of the time just say no, I was off. This minigame, while sort of fun, just felt kind of wonky to be honest. In Ishin, you can craft different types of weapons like swords, guns and armor. But I'll be honest, I didn't craft much weapons because after certain fights, you would just receive a really good sword. The only real weapon I crafted was this gun because it was just so much better. The reason I didn't craft many weapons was because it felt so hard getting the materials for it. Not only that, but to make a certain better weapon, you need a base weapon of something else. It resulted in me just not caring, only going to the blacksmith to upgrade your current ones. You also have to make a lot of weapons in Smith to even create some of the better ones, and it just felt like it takes like forever to do so. But to be honest, the weapons you're given at each boss fight or like each chapter, they're really good. They do this job fine, so you don't really need to make a new one, only if you really want to do maximum damage. But in my opinion, they went pretty well. I didn't really need any new weapons. I just stuck with what I had and it worked fine. There is also an arena mode where you fight against enemies. Either 5 mini-boss in a row, which is pretty fun, or a 100-man match with either one of your fighting styles. And let me tell you, this challenge, it's hard. Trying to take down 100 men alongside mini-bosses without dying or having any healing items, it's really tough. It's a good challenge, but a challenge that was just too hard for me. I really want to beat this on hard mode, but it was too much. The arena is a nice way to earn money, and of course again, materials for crafting weapon though. There are some other side activities, but I don't think they're all that interesting to talk about, so let's move on to the sub-stories. You know, in my last video I praised Infinite Wealth for having so many amazing sub-stories as it had some of the best in the series. But in Ishin, I kind of find most of them very forgettable. A lot of them just go by so quickly and just not memorable. Now, there were some I did like the one where a group of people do this random dance that would symbolize a protest to change things for the better, but then some people use it for bad. But Sakamoto learns in the end that not everyone who does this dance does it for evil and actually just wants to make a good change. Also, he does a dance and it just looks hilarious. Another one I liked revolved around this couple who was confronted by this asshole samurai who kills their fucking dog. Like, what the fuck, man? This guy deserves an electric chair. Sakamoto does beat the shit out of him, but he still runs away. But as it turns out, the dogs share the same name as their dead son. Their son died years ago, so they got a dog to sort of fill in that space, and they love the dog a lot as it really reminds them of their son. They want to bury it, but under a peach tree, and the only one they can do that is Haruka's house, which he has no problem with. It's a sweet side quest. I do really enjoy this one. Another one I enjoyed was the one where you help a foreigner to become a samurai, but due to him not being Japanese, nobody wants to teach him except for Sakamoto. You find him multiple times to teach him how to be a good swordsman, and while he's kind of pathetic, he doesn't give up. It's a fun sub-story. There's also this short but fun one revolving around the guy outside his establishment, tricking Sakamoto to go in and have some good time with a lady. Ooh. But as it turns out, he doesn't have any women nearby and instead just sumo wrestlers. And when Sakamoto refuses to pay him, they start attacking him. And by defeating them, the guy promises to stop scamming people and run a legit business. To be honest, I think the side quest is more memorable because of the sumo wrestlers, because it's just fun. Another one I found pretty enjoyable was the one revolving around finding out who had eaten this man's cake. As the 5 suspects are lined up, Sakamoto has to find out who did it, who is telling the truth and who is not. And of course, I used the one tiny thing inside my head called brain and find out who did it on the first try. I really like this one. It was a very good time solving this mystery. The last one I do want to mention was a side plot with Haruka. Haruka's parents die, which makes all of the loans go over to Haruka. Now Haruka has to pay off the loan or else they'll take her house. Sakamoto agrees to help her pay her loan in exchange for him being able to live there. You can plant vegetables there and it can either be used to cook different dishes or to sell on the market. You grow a relationship with Haruka over time, which leads to you two going to karaoke and just being close together. But that's pretty much it when it comes to sub-stories. Otherwise, I didn't think most of them were just interesting at all. Usually they just last for 1 minute and then it's done. Despite many of the side quests not being memorable to me, I don't think that ruins the game at all. I don't think it's a really huge issue. But there was one thing that I did find really annoying in this game. Now first off, I do want to say the story is fantastic in this game and I was engaged all the way through. But there was one thing that did bother me. Not the story itself, but rather how half the missions revolve around you walking to the next destination. There's so many times of you just walking and being attacked by random street thugs because you sometimes can't even walk past them. Yes, I know there's some taximen too, but they're only like in 4 spots in the game and you still have to walk to the spots, which can take minutes. And several times you can't even take the taxi, so that's just cool. So imagine doing this like 50 or more times. And they always wanted to walk all the way at the end of the map and of course all the way back. Like, Jesus, this is tedious. To be fair, it's something new in Yakuza. Every Yakuza game has you to walk to destination, but it's never felt this tedious before. I think it's also just because of the mission structure, because a lot of missions just like, okay, walk to this place and then walk back. Now walk to this place and walk back. And I think that's what makes this game feel more tedious at times to play. Now, I do want to say, if you do get a strong bond with the taxi dudes, you can make them pair to the bottom of the map too, but even then, again, you have to spend a lot of time just walking around. But other than that, I don't really have much complaints about the game. As I said earlier, the story is fantastic and I was invested from the very beginning, and partially it was due to all the great characters. We got our main lead Sakamoto, who is a pretty chill, laid-back guy, but will help anyone in need. He's a bit lazy and often sleeps for very long times and just lurks around, but he's also an excellent swordsman who doesn't step down from a fight. He is similar to Kiryu, but with some few differences here and there, and that could be also said for several other characters. If you play the mainline series, you're gonna know how they act here. But that's just a great thing in my mind because I do love these characters. I was actually surprised by how much time was devoted to Sakamoto and Okita, creating this brotherly bond, which was really nice to see, as we don't get it really much from the mainline series anymore. The character I was most interested in seeing was Hekita, and he did not disappoint at all. I also love how he can be so calm yet so terrifying.
松原君、君の素性は分かっている。長州藩の人間なんだろ？君は。
副長、そんな私が長州だなんて。
カラスとか言ったか。その情報屋を使い、我々の情報を長州藩に流していたということは調べがついている。
He is fantastic in this game, and I was so happy seeing him being an ally to Sakamoto. I remember hearing this remix of his theme of Sora and thinking, oh shit, it's gonna be a boss fight. What is the reason you're gonna fight him? And then you play it and find out you're only fighting him before the final long battle so you can test your skills, and not gonna lie, I was really happy seeing that. We also get Akiyama back as Katsura, but unlike his counterpart in modern times, Katsura is not rich or lazy, but is a leader of a samurai organization. Takeshi hired Katsura to watch over Sakamoto to make sure he is safe, which shows that he still cares for him even after their falling out earlier. But dude, seeing the legend Ryuju Goda, who is called Saigo here, was just amazing. I love this man so much, and he was my favorite antagonist in the entire series, and seeing more of him is always such a joy. He even has one of my favorite scenes in the entire game.
おいおい、機嫌が悪いからってまさか。おお、かわいいやっちゃの。よしよしよしよし。あ。わしに噛みつくとはの。気に入ったで。今日からお前は薩摩藩預かりや。
He plays as a leader for another samurai group, which is enemies with Katsura group, which makes them clash together until Sakamoto stops them and wants them to have a fist fight together and then a drink and then they become best friends. Now all these characters are great, but I do want to highlight a new character in Ishin named Oreo. Despite using Yuki's model and face, her character is completely different, as this time she acts as Sakamoto's love interest. Oreo works at the hotel that Sakamoto sleeps at, and ever since he started sleeping there, she is falling in love with him. However, as Sakamoto is as clueless as he is, he has no idea that she has any interest in him. I think the romance between Oreo and Sakamoto was handled really well in this game. They got a lot of scenes where they can just talk to each other and develop their relationship. Before the final chapter in the game, Sakamoto wants to hang out with Oreo before he is traveling to the last battle that he might not come back alive to. So they spend his last day before traveling just hanging around. It's a very nice part of the chapter. I also just love this line from her.
嘘ついたらもう二度とご飯の支度してあげへんから。
Sakamoto has been comforting Oreo as much as he has been comforting him. I was so surprised by how good this relationship was, and I really wish RGG would have more relationships like these in the mainland series. There are also several side antagonists and they're alright, but the one I really did like was Isso. Isso was a member of the Loyalist Party from the beginning. When hearing that Sakamoto gets immediately promoted to one of his captains, he doesn't take that well. He appears multiple times in the story as he is a pretty dangerous swordsman. At the last fight though, with Sakamoto winning, Isso is down on the ground coughing up blood. It's then revealed that Isso never cared for the title or that Sakamoto got the promotion, but the fact that Takeshi would never look at Isu as his own brother. Isu could never live up to Sakamoto's skills and brotherly bond to Takeshi, and then he dies being the first person that Sakamoto has ever killed. I really like this character and I thought this one was a pretty sad end to him. I did actually really like him. Alongside the great characters, the game is accompanied by one of the best soundtracks in the entire series. I love this soundtrack so much with too many favorites to choose from. The standard battle theme is really cool, even changing a bit when switching to different styles. As a Man As a Brave is an amazing remix. It's just so funny it plays when you fight naked in a bathhouse. Receive Your Archetype is one of Majima's best theme. It is so good. They always manage to make his theme some of the best in the series. For My Sake is my favorite edition of the Niski theme. I really love the flute playing in the background. And in this version they also include a remix of Flight Yakuza 3 called Soar, and it's marvelous. Definitely one of the best tracks in the game. Now, I think it's a good time to talk more about the later parts of the story, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then stop the video right here. Okay? Alright. So it's revealed that the murder of Sakamoto's father was Inoue. Over 1 year ago, Inoue had been hired by a higher up to kill Sakamoto's dad, but has felt regret ever since. Unlike several of the other captains, he knew of Sakamoto's identity the whole time and tried to keep it a secret. But before they found out about that, he was killed and dumped in the river. As rumors spread out, it's said someone by the name of Sakamoto Ryomo has killed him. Someone else has been using this name to kill others. A huge fire breaks out due to one of his captains, Ito, as they try to start the blame on the leader of the group, but fails when Hikita finds out who actually did it. But despite that, he, alongside another captain, takes over the group with all of the men, which means that all of the rest of the captains are being thrown out. Now they only have 4 captains left against the whole army of the loyalists. They do have a plan to raid a building where the supposed Sakamoto Ryomo clone is at, so they can finally kill him and the loyalist groups. But as Sakamoto enters the top floor, both Ito and the chief of a police group have been waiting for him. And in the background is Sakamoto's brother Takechi, who has been using Sakamoto's name to kill others. Takechi tells Sakamoto to find him back in Tasa, and walks away in the darkness. Despite all his efforts, Sakamoto can't reach him now and has to travel to Tasa to stop him once and for all. He is joined by the last remaining captains who are on their way to finally end it all, and most likely won't come back alive. As they arrive at Tasa, it's not the same as it used to be. Tasa has been turned from this peaceful village to a massive castle with defenses and weapons. The group gets ready to embark on the hardest part of the game, which makes sense because, you know, it's the final part. This long battle is the longest in the game, with multiple boss battles and several different sections to go through. As you beat each passing boss, one member stays behind to properly finish them off, with Sakamoto continuing towards his brother. Also, fuck this one big dude right here, who is so hard to dodge his attacks and throws daggers and stuns you. Oh god, I had such a trouble beating him. I fucking hate this guy. But after all that, Sakamoto finally reaches his brother sitting at the same place that the father died at. I really love the dialogue here, as both of them do want to reform the country for the better, but it's the methods that are different. Sakamoto wants to reform the country in a more peaceful way, just like his father, while Takechi's way of doing it is in a much more aggressive way, burning down buildings and killing people just to achieve his goal. Takechi is not an evil person, but he believes for there to be change, they need to do it in this way. He also tells Sakamoto that he was the one who hired the assassin to kill their father over 1 year ago. In Takechi's eyes, he just made his dad's dream come true. The father's dream was to reform the country for the better, but there was one person in the way of that plan, and that was himself. Takechi believes their father's method of no blood spill prevented him from achieving his dream. Takechi used Sakamoto's name to try and prove a point, to see if he or Sakamoto was right, tracing every path he took, using several connections like Oreo. Sakamoto had been thrown a lot in his way, and despite that, he still managed to overcome it and not change. Forgiving Oreo for lying to him, the Kyo fire, killing Isso, and so on. Takechi calls Sakamoto here to finally settle it all and to see who will come atop and decide the country's fate.
来いヨマ行くぞ竹地
This fight is amazing, one of my favorites in the series. What I love about this fight is that Takechi will use the styles you have used throughout the game, Swordsman and Wild Dancer. Not only that, but he will also do the shock attack, which was pretty shocking.
Oh brother!
This fight has 3 different phases, with Takechi changing his fighting style for each phase. Not only that, but for each phase, the music also slightly changes to its next step. It's amazing, it sounds fantastic. Finally, after a long fight, Takechi is beaten, and Sakamoto has a chance to finally strike him down, but he doesn't. Sakamoto finally gets Takechi to understand the way he's been doing things has been wrong. As Takechi states, it's ironic how he had been wanting to take down the ranks and the hierarchy, only proceed to use them to get what he wants. He starts to understand that it's not about how much blood you spill, bravery and power, it's about love. The love of wanting to change the country for the better. Back a year ago when Sakamoto protected his brother, his love for him was stronger than anything he had ever seen. Despite Takechi throwing a lot of things at Sakamoto, he still cared for him, having people watch over Sakamoto to make sure he was okay. He had always been looking out for him, just like when they were kids. Sakamoto doesn't want them to hate each other, and in the end, he forgives Takechi, even after everything he has done.
Ah. 兄弟。さあ、行くとするか。
As the sun gets up, the two of them want to leave, but then...
兄弟。
これだから合仕上がりは信用できんのだ。
Takechi has been taking orders this whole time from Todo. Todo's plan has not been to start a war or improve the country, but to sell it to the British. Todo wants Japan to be a part of the British Empire so he can be the new emperor and overthrow the older one. He thinks by selling it to the Brits, the country will keep it in its place. Despite Todo having a gun, Sakamoto stands up to Todo as he proceeds to shoot him. Despite getting shot multiple times, Sakamoto manages to still stand up, with the other captains arriving.
これが国のため、愛のため、戦った男たちの生き様だ。
誰だ貴様。
Todo cries and begs for Sakamoto to spare him, even saying he can have Tosa. He thinks he's the only one who can truly save the country, as any day now the British will come and invade the country. But Sakamoto believes that Japan is a strong country. Even if Japan lost to the British and lost everything, Japan will rise again with future generations seeing it.
そんなんで日本は滅びる国じゃね
お前は分かっちゃいない。負けるのは目に見えているんだぞ。
え。いや、たとえ今負けたとしても、日本は何度でも立ち上がるさ。まだ見ぬ兄弟たちによってな。
なんだと。
俺らは兄弟たちに伝えなきゃならねえんだ。この国に生きる者にとって本当に必要なもんを。この国にはまだ多くの血が流れるだろう。人間ってのは間違う。間違ってばかりだ。でもな、それでも俺らは進まなきゃならねえんだよ。この国の夜明けを信じてな。進むことをやめちまったら託すべき未来もなくなっちまう。俺らの仕事は生きていける世の中を作ることじゃねえ。生きていてよかったと思える国を作ることなんじゃねえのか。
And with that, Sakamoto is finally striking down Todo.
やめるんだ。やめるんだ。龍馬。
本の兄弟たちよ。また会いたじゃ。
After the credits, we cut to 2 years later with Katsura visiting Takechi's house. Since then, Takechi stopped Tosa for being a fortress and managed to help Japan reform. We are also shown Nakaoka trying to write the story behind Sakamoto Ryoma staying at Otosa's new hotel. And in the end, Ori and Sakamoto are climbing up the mountain and are just being a lovely couple.
綺麗やね。これからうちらどれだけ一緒の景色見られるんやろ。
ずっとさ。もう日本の夜は明けたんだ。
This game was just amazing. The story captivated me so much and the characters were fantastic, on top of a beautiful coat and paint of a game and amazing soundtrack. If you're a fan of this series but still haven't played this, I would say yes, play it please. This game has become one of my favorites in the series. Well, that's pretty much it folks. I hope you all enjoyed the video and leave a like for Sadachi who just keep appearing in these games for some fucking reason. And thank you all so much for watching and I hope you have a great day. Take care.